Welcome to the Nicole Small Show, where we give you straight talk with no chaser. Here, we discuss issues from the White House to your house. And now, here's your host, Nicole Small.
Good morning and welcome to the Nicole Small Show. Today is Tuesday, March the 16th. You know what that means? We're almost to April. This year, this time of the year is definitely going by a lot faster than last year when we had just recently around this time been hit with the news about the pandemic. So today we're going to talk about, as I stated yesterday, what the Republicans are doing. They are trying to push 253 bills to suppress voters, to implement voter suppression in 43 states. You talking about staying busy. And we all know that this is just a response to Donald Trump not winning the election, to him being on having to go through a trial for impeachment twice, of which still didn't return any punishment, let's say that, or any penalties. We'll see what's going to happen if New York, he'll be arrested in New York for some of his improprieties while in office. But let's talk about this. The Republicans. Now, don't forget, Georgia helped to flip the Senate, correct? And while I was a part of that, still happy to have participated in that effort. Let's talk about what has happened since then. We have Republicans, again, that are pushing 253 bills to suppress voters' rights in 43 states. That's a heavy lift. That is a heavy lift. They're talking about restrictions for mail-in ballots, early voting. Now, we're just now getting this whole early voting thing in order to where we have more people participating. You think about what happened in Detroit for the 2020 election. We turned out 250,000 voters. A good percentage of those voters were through absentee and early voting. And while Michigan is not on one of these states, I don't believe, no, these restrictions will definitely provide constraints for tens of millions of voters. But I was trying to see, yeah, so they're talking about access to the ballots. A lot of this is going on in southern states. This will take us back decades if this actually goes through. And I need people to really understand how, with these Republicans, by any means necessary, they will do what they can to destroy and undo any good that the Democrats have put in place. Anything that represents equality, fairness, transparency, they will do their best to tear it apart. And those are the facts, right? So meanwhile, this is going on. We have the Democratic Party that's over here talking about pushing to remove Cumo. Listen, I get that you have some concerns and some issues about some of his past statements and his behaviors. All that I'm saying is, do we have time for this? Is this where our focus really needs to be? Because when you take a look at what's going on in the mainstream media and national news, you have the Republicans receiving news media for voter suppression in 43 states, which is major. And the response from the Democrats is they want to remove Cumo. And that's the problem that I have. And I want you to think about all of those voters that we were able to turn out to vote Trump out of office in 2020. Do you know why a lot of them weren't that consistent in voting before? It wasn't because they had just turned 18 and were eligible to vote. A lot of them had already been registered. Don't let them fool you where, these are all newly registered voters. No, none of that. It's because they don't have faith in the system and they're so sick of the Democratic Party and their shenanigans. And so now what you have are a lot of those voters who came out to vote, and now potentially their voter rights will be suppressed. And instead of you taking clear action and making that a priority, of your efforts, you out here worried about removing Cumo. This is the news media that we're getting right now. What about that? What about that? What do you think? What message do you think that this sends to these voters who we just were able to turn out in this election? Excuse me, y'all. I dropped my phone. This is where we go wrong. Have we reached out to those voters that just recently came out? Are you telling them about what's going on? You surely were telling them about what was going on in Georgia. So shouldn't you be telling them what's going on and how they're trying to suppress the vote? Now there's basically no voter contact, at least here in Michigan. What is the Michigan Democratic Party doing? Where is your reach to these voters who just turned out? So you just had a state convention. We just re-elected the same old people. So where is your voter engagement? Didn't we talk about this before? Wasn't that the reason why it was such a hard sell to so many voters to get involved in the election in 2020? Because they feel like you only come around during an election year. And so now you just set those people to the side, I guess, into next year for midterms elections. There is some validity to those and those concerns from those voters. I'm not suggesting that they shouldn't vote or anything like that, but what I am saying is be conscious of how you treat people. Be conscious of how your behavior shows that you're just using them for a snapshot in time, because that's what it looks like. And this is why it's so hard for us to get people to come out and to consistently vote. But is this the best use of our time? Have you learned anything? You just looked up and you won a war. So instead of learning from your experiences, you revert back to the same old behavior. Oh, we'll start talking to them when we want something again. And this is the message that's being sent. And we look weak. We look weak. These Republicans don't care. And I just like to see what are our efforts to push back against them. And I'm not talking about from the same few people like Maxine Waters or Congresswoman Maxine Waters or Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib or Congresswoman AOC. You know, not from them. Not from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. We need to see a concerted effort from this entire party talking about what are you going to do to stop this? What is your plan? Are you just going to let it happen and then just complain about it? Because that's what we're seeing. That's exactly what we're seeing from this Democratic Party. And it's exactly what we have seen prior to this Biden win for president. This needs to stop. There needs to be some efforts right now where you should be reaching out to those same voters. I don't even know if you sent out an email to thank them. This is sad. We're going to be right back in the same predicament that we were in the first place. And think about it. You need to be campaigning right now for 2024 because you could believe that the Republicans are. They're campaigning for 2024. You could believe that. But what are you doing, Democratic Party? What are you doing? And then it's going to be left up to the rest of us who really are here on the ground, who are consistently engaging with these voters outside of just an election year, to try to keep them involved and engaged, to try to convince them that what they have experienced isn't what they've experienced. That's what you're going to ask us to do. What they see and what they have experienced is actually the truth. Where are you? And nobody even opposed the chair for the Michigan Democratic Party. Again, where is she? More than 250 bills are being pushed from the Republican Party to suppress voters' rights in 43 states. This is not good. And it's just 43 states right now. Who's to say that they're not coming here to try it? Who's to say that they're not coming to, if you don't live in Michigan, another state that isn't currently on the list? They have no boundaries. If the Republican Party haven't showed you anything, when they elected Trump and supported him, they have no boundaries. And their standards are pretty low. That much we do know. So what are you going to do? Listen, great job on a stimulus package. You need to do something about the student loan debt. I mean, we need at least $50,000 knocked off of the student loan debt. I'm just saying. But this is serious right here. And if you think that people who are in the other states that aren't currently on the list don't speak to the other people who are in these states where they can potentially have 70% of their rights, voter rights, stripped from them. You know, we all talk, and if not, it's on social media. So you need to be trying to preserve the voter rights here in those states that haven't been targeted. And here's a thought. Why don't you have some type of Zoom meeting where you prepare voters for how we can prevent this from coming to our state? That's just a thought. Be proactive. That's just a thought. You want to talk about voting and how important it is. Is it only important when it's in your best interest, when you could get money for these elections, right? Because this isn't an election year where the Michigan Democratic Party is necessarily making money. So now you're just going to be silent? Is that what this is about? Where are you? There definitely should be some type of effort and some type of panel discussion about what we need to do to push back and draw the line right now. So these elected officials know on the Republican side that we're not buying it. Where is that effort at? And then also let us know what we could do to support these other states that are being targeted. You wanted to let us know about what we could do across the country to help Biden win an election. So where are your efforts to make sure that we protect our own voter rights here? This is ridiculous. And you know what? Those of you who came out, you shouldn't just say, oh, well, you know what? I knew that they were going to do this. You should be up in arms about it too. This is a problem. This lackluster, lazy attitude that the local party has here is unacceptable. And it's what puts us in a compromising position every election year. And I'm tired of it. I told you before, after we won this election, I'm not going to be backed into a corner anymore. Either they're going to get out here and they're going to do their job, and they're going to show us that they appreciate and they value our worth, right? And that's really going to be the topic of the conversation today, because we're going to, in a minute, we're going to pivot over to about this stimulus money that's coming into Detroit. You need to push for them to value your work. You know what? I bet you if there was an effort to recall, which I don't know the process and I need to do my homework, to chair the Democratic Party, you start to see some work from her then. And don't come inboxing me. Don't come texting me, and don't come sending a message to me telling me Nicole is International Women's Month and she a black woman. I know she a black woman. Do she know she a black woman? That's what you should ask. Does LaVora Barnes know that she's a black woman? Does she know that she's not reaching out to black women around here? The area with the most highly concentrated black women is in Detroit. How about that? And we don't see you. What about our Latina sisters who are here in Detroit? We don't see you. This is a problem. You have people from all races who came out to vote, 250,000 in the city of Detroit. You're using those numbers. You're using those numbers, LaVora, to your benefit, how we turned out to vote, to show that, oh, you were able to mobilize and galvanize voters who don't typically traditionally vote in these elections, to come out as if you did that work. No, you didn't. But you're going to get the credit for it, because you know what? That's how the game goes. But where are you? Why aren't you talking to us about how to prevent this from happening in our state? So we're going to wait until it happens if they want to target the state of Michigan for voter suppression. And then what? Then you're going to come out and say something? Then what? Then you're going to try to get some money so you can say, well, we have to educate these people about why, what they need to push back. Where is your information that you're supposed to send out about redrawing these districts? Where is that? Considering how I just told the listeners last week that the hearings that they're going to have about redrawing the districts, we got the short end of the stick down here in Metro Detroit and Southeastern Michigan. But this is where you have the most densely populated voters. And we're getting a short end of the stick for hearings. How does that work out? Where are you? And those of you who are so heavily engaged, I'm going to have to call, what's his name? Sam's, I'm going to have to call him and see, like what their group are doing for this. This is just unacceptable. And I'm telling you, because this is so important about our voters' rights being suppressed. And I don't want any of you to be caught off guard. And it's a lot of us who have friends and family in these other states. And this is just unconscionable. The silence from the Democratic Party overall nationally is unacceptable. But what's going on right here in the state of Michigan? How long are we going to tolerate this? How long are we going to tolerate them waiting until an election year for the state to come and engage with us? And then you want to give us the crumbs. After you get all of the money and you give it to a lot of the suburban cities and things of that nature, how long are we going to tolerate always being an afterthought when we're the largest base of voters? The reason why they get a lot of that money is because of the number of us who are registered to vote. That's what I want you to know. So that's just something for you to think about. Then $895.59 million is set to come into the city of Detroit from the stimulus money. $895.59 million is set out of that $10 billion that the state of Michigan is getting. That's how much the city of Detroit is scheduled to receive in stimulus money. Just recently, last year, we received a 90-something million for CARES Act money. Still don't know where that money has gone. What are we going to do to make sure that Detroiters actually receive some of that money, that when it's going to supplement some of the shortfalls of the city's budget, that it goes in the right places? Because we also need to talk about why we lost so much money last year. It wasn't just due to COVID. It was because of well-informed decisions to misappropriate funding from this current administration. So let's just be clear. COVID played a part in it, but that wasn't the reason for its entirety. So now we're going to bring on our sister, Elena Arata. She's going to join in this conversation. And as we all know, she definitely has some strong opinions about what's going on with voter rights. And we're going to delve into this COVID money. Good morning, Elena. How are you? Oh, we can't hear you. You see the mic at the bottom?
Yeah, good morning.
Okay, there you go.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, there's a lot of really big questions here. And, I want to always try to remind us all that there's issues of structure, the structural injustices that are built into the current way of being able to get money into the hands of the people. But the issue of the tax abatements and tax captures has to always be upfront, because we have to understand that the reason the schools are not prepared to be open is because the money was diverted to the Illich Holdings for the Little Caesars Arena in perpetuity. In perpetuity.
We cannot get away from this horrible deal with the Illages, can we? And this Little Caesars Arena.
So it
It's
doesn't
like,
even help that they're dead.
no, it
doesn't help
doesn't.
them
I'm
with that.
telling you, we
Yeah.
cannot get away from it. And these bad actors making these poor decisions. But hold on, Elaine, I have to get your input on something else really quickly before we go into this whole this stimulus money, because when you and I get into that, it's going to be a lot that comes out of it. Okay. What are your thoughts? Let's just talk about the Latina community, and I just want to hear from your perspective about the outreach, the GOTV outreach during last year, the election year. Did you feel that there was really a concerted effort to make sure that there was information in Spanish to reach those who, definitely had challenges, were very limited with English, that your community was definitely showed that they were valued from the Michigan Democratic Party last year? Was there a huge uptick?
No, I'm going to say a few things about that. And also, there's a different way of doing outreach in the Latino community for voting. Mm-hmm. And when I took people to the polls myself, I found that the polling places were closed with no forwarding information of where we should go. So the days of being able to walk to go to vote, or knowing where you're going to vote, even if you got something in the mail the day before or the day after, which happened in many cases, it was inaccurate. And people would go to vote at a school that wasn't open, at a church that was shuttered. So there was a lot of people that were not able to vote. And I witnessed this firsthand because I was helping to take people to go and vote. So I know that there's a lot of confusion about it. And a lot of people will not go out of their way to vote because they don't believe that it makes any difference. So you have to really be also really vigilant about getting people excited to vote. District 6 has among the lowest voting turnout in the city. As we saw from the number of signatures that you need to be on the Citizens Advisory Council. We have a very low voter turnout, and a lot of people like it that way, because the same people will vote. When I ran for office for school board, and I hear my I won't say their opponents, but people running for office, or either the same office or other offices, they'll say that they knocked every door in the district. But what they mean is they knocked every voter in the district. And I kept on thinking, how did they get that done in half a day? And I was knocking every door, even though I know that that's not the way to get elected, because it is the way that you know what's happening on the ground.
But you do know why they say that, right? A lot of the organizations that do GOTV, because the more doors, the more voter contact that you say you have, the more funding that you get. And they already received, just so you know, they've already received a certain portion of funding. So then what happens is when they go back for additional funding, whether it's that same election year or the next year, when they claim that they've knocked, the more touches is what we call it. So whether it's door knocking, and it has to be a multi-pronged approach, text messages and phone calls. So just so you know that's why they say that. And you're absolutely correct. No, it hasn't happened. And they're very specific about which doors that they target.
Yeah, because they're not targeting doors of people that are not showing up on the ban list.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people moving around. People are really moving around. There's been a lot of evictions. The last time I ran for office, when I was knocking doors, it was a warmer season, and I was knocking, and almost every single house that I went to would, because I'm from here, because I'm like, I'm a grandmother now, and I've been here forever. Then people would tell me things that were going on in their household. We ended up going to the police station. We ended up getting threat management. We ended up all kinds of stuff. So I'm like, I'm never going to finish this block. There's so many problems.
So you didn't see an overwhelming response or effort from the Michigan Democratic Party in the 2020 election?
No. So, and I want to tell you something else about the language issue.
Mm-hmm.
It has been my experience in all the years I've done voter registration and voter outreach and everything else, is that you really, the issue of having things in Spanish is really overblown. It's really overrated. We're lucky to get people that are English only to the polls. So the issue of people not being able to engage in the election process because they don't speak English is not. It's there's a whole lot of things in front of that before people are getting ready to vote. Let me put
Well,
it
you
that
know,
way.
I don't think that that's a reason that people don't vote. What I was saying to you is that there's a lot of money that was flooded into that campaign. Okay. And if your goal is to make sure that you turn out as many voters as you possibly can and you have the funding for it, all that I'm asking you is, did they put forth that effort to at least have some of the literature in Spanish? I absolutely agree that that's not that's not the reason why people aren't coming out to vote.
Yeah.
Who have challenges with English. I just wanted to know, did they even put forth that effort? Because at the end of the day, if they didn't do that, then think about this, Elena. If right now the Republicans are pushing 253 bills to suppress voters' rights, let's just say Michigan is the next state on the list to be targeted. Let's just say that. And we're talking about that we have a Latina community population that often is overlooked and undervalued, okay? What are going to be the efforts to prepare them for this if it could potentially happen? And if it did, what is going to be the efforts to educate them on what their rights really are? And that's the point that I'm really trying to make. If they didn't care then for 2020, and we know how passionate they were about us electing a Democratic president, what's going to happen now with voters' rights being under attack? And I'm quite sure that this would be a community that they definitely would target. Well, and I haven't heard anything from the Michigan Democratic Party. Has your community?
No, and I'm telling you, we don't have any representation on the redistricting committee at all. And there's not one Latino on that statewide redistricting committee. And we have communities that they would say communities of interest, but we don't have enough influence to be able to even have somebody that would. I applied for it, and I know other people who applied for it, and we didn't get on that. And I do feel like that is a real issue of representation. And if we don't have the Democrats, they do this to Black people and they do this to Latinos. And I know that some of the people in the leadership of the Latino community are Republicans. They've always said that the Democrats just treat us like stepchildren and that they didn't feel like they had to be loyal to a party that doesn't have any respect for us. That's the reason there are Latino Republicans. And another reason is obviously that crazy right to life. That's a whole other thing, because the pulpits, the priests in the pulpits will tell people, it's a sin to vote for somebody that's pro-choice. And that's how they got They did. They got people to vote for Trump. And I heard people say that from especially from Holy Redeemer, the biggest church in the Latino community. So I think
that there's so much hypocrisy in that entire statement, considering how Trump supports the killing of innocent people because of the color of their skin. But let's shift the conversation.
Detaining children in cages.
Oh no! I mean, first of all, how he sleeps at night with both eyes closed is just unbelievable to me. After doing something like that, I personally believe that the Lord takes care of all children and fools. So for you to attack an entire community of children who are so innocent, it just turns my stomach. But let's talk about the stimulus money. $895.59 million is set to come into the city of Detroit. Go ahead.
I want to just say that Duggan uses contracts to reward his friends at every turn.
Doesn't he? And his biggest supporters of his campaign. Don't forget that. Yeah,
and that's what the concern that I have is going through the nonprofits that always support him, and Hispanic Development, Southwest Solutions. They're very friendly with the mayor, and they get a lot of favor for being involved in they're not going to oppose them. Let me put it that way. They're not going to oppose them.
So let's go back to when we talk about these tax captures. we're going to have to bring next week, you and I, Russ Ballant, into this conversation because of the funding and what's going on with the libraries. But you made mention to something before I started talking about what's going on with these voters' rights. You talked about why there are claims that the schools are shut down, and you said that was due to a lack of funding.
Well, they shuttered some of the schools with no notice at all. And that happened, a lot of the times that happened during emergency management. But rather than having schools open to be able to vote, where people had traditionally voted, if the schools are closed and then the little churches, those little storefront or small little churches, not big churches, not like the Catholic churches, but like the little small, like a missionary Baptist church, those were voting sites and they were closed. There was one point where I left some old women, elders, standing at the little spot. It was up by the MGM casino. No, by Motor City, I'm sorry, on Trumbull. I left them we all went to vote. There's a sign on the door that is the church is closed. I drove around till I found a place because they weren't answering the phones. I drove around and it turned out that we were voting at the place we had voted before, which was Frederick Douglass Library. But we got a notice in the mail that gave us a different voting location, and those women were walking. They were elders. They were easily 20 years older than me. And they were standing there, and I told them I would come back. I went back and I got them, and we all went to vote at Frederick Douglass. I had to drive around and track down where we vote. What kind of voter outreach is that?
But do you think that this $895 million that we're scheduled to receive in the city of Detroit will go towards the schools? I believe that definitely will come from the state. I will be curious to hear what conversations will be led at the table for the school board around that. But let's also talk about some of the other areas that they can use to help fund and fill in the gaps for the city of Detroit. Okay,
but hold on 1 second. I just want to say that there was so much money allocated from the bonds for the schools, and it didn't ever get there, and none of that work was ever done. The HVAC systems, air conditioning, heating, none of that work was ever done because that money didn't make it to the schools. It went instead to other places. That $3 billion that turned up missing during the years of emergency management, that was bond money. Now, if Duggan is in charge of this money, how could you ever expect it to go to where it's needed when he was able to divert the last, and I'm talking millions and millions of dollars.
But he still hasn't been held accountable. So we're talking about federal funds that are earmarked due to a pandemic. Let's talk about that. The 90-something million that he received last time, we still don't know what happened to it. Think about that. There is a pie chart on the city's website that simply gives you percentages of where he supposedly people receive $1,200 in stipends. I keep going to this, or $1,600 if you had a family, because I don't know anyone who received that stipend. I don't know anyone who received a $500 Meyer gift card from the city of Detroit. I don't know anyone who had their car repairs paid for from the city of Detroit. I don't know these people. I've been asking for a couple of months now. And now listen, one thing I could say about the people who listen to this show, they're real good at responding. Nicole, oh, I was able to get this, or Nicole, I applied for this and I didn't receive a response. At the end of the day, the city of Detroit provided Detroiters, in order to access this funding from the city, they provided us with an email address, Elena, not a telephone number, not a link to a website, a freaking email address about how to inquire about getting the funds. Just think about that. And the city council has not done one thing, no checks and balances at all to ask where that money went. And so now we're going to get another $895 million that's going to come into this city. And I guarantee you that these simpletons down there, they're going to go ahead every time that the mayor asks to reallocate money to workforce development or whoever else. They're not even going to make sure that before they say yes, that they tell him that he must submit every 30 days, a report on how the money is being spent. There are no checks and balances. This is a large amount of money that we are going to receive. Yes, we do need to clear up some debt in the city. I would like to see some of that money go and pay off the arrearage of some of these tax bills. Why don't you open up a fund where people can apply, not to pay $25 just every month, but where people can actually get money to pay off some of their arrearage in their water bill? Do that. That's what they do for DTE.
Restore the home repair. Restore the home repair
Oh,
program.
they definitely need to restore the home repair. And you know what else? We need to find out how many homeless people they actually helped with that last 32 million before we invest any more money in HRD. But I agree with you about restoring the home repair. People really can't afford these home repairs now. Most of them spent their money last time during the summer with their unemployment checks. I know, because I was trying to get some cement work done, and two of the people were extremely busy because that's what people were spending their money on. People need they need to definitely restore the home repair. I think you bring up a great point.
But I want to also say that this is also the innate inequality of what people already have. So when you talk, I see people all the time buying these houses around here and putting in as much or more than they paid for the house. How do they have all that money? And the people who were in that house could barely patch a roof.
Yes.
There is such an innate inequality that has been created. Duggan's greatest product that he has created is resentment. I am telling you, I feel really resentful when I see people lose their houses, and somebody that doesn't need that house, somebody that doesn't make that house their home, didn't need it, didn't have any connection to it, able to gut it, upgrade it, and do everything else, and they're just slumming. These were our homes. These were our real community, and they're not thinking about where they're going to put their kids in school or anything else. I'm telling you that if we allow this administration to continue to loot, there's not going to be anybody left, and the developers are the ones that are really the laundering tube where all this money is going, because if they don't have to pay any taxes and they get tax abatements, that's just encouraging more and more of this rich people's development, and poor people are getting. I'm watching it. I'm watching Clement Kern Gardens. I'm watching people just be removed. It's like apartheid here.
Yeah. And you know what else it will be a result of this money that we're getting? Contracts. Yep. There are going to be more contracts that are going to be a result of this $895 million that we come into the city. Who are we going to make sure gets those jobs? You know what? And when we talk about the schools, let's talk about it. We need to make sure that the sanitizing contracts and everything, that they go to some Detroiters too, to sanitize these schools. I wonder, what are the efforts going to be around some more opportunities for our kids to have recreational activities this summer as well? And what is that going to look like?
But the thing is,
we have to start thinking ahead. We cannot now we know what to expect during this pandemic. But I really hope that Detroiters come together and you start pushing to get some of this money. It's $895 million. Some of the shortfalls that we have in the budget are because the mayor wanted to put in as a priority his friends and family fund. That's why. That's exactly why. And for us not to even know where the last CARES Act funds, where they went or how they were spent at all, what city council, no other city would tolerate this. City council needs to be held accountable. I sent an email to city council back in December, I believe it was, or November, asking for a report on how the funding was spent. Still haven't received an answer.
So we need to do a freedom of information.
Or maybe go to the Auditor General too and ask the Auditor General to complete a report. Maybe that'll be FOIA, because they play these games with the FOIA all the time. But I'm with you on that.
Yeah, because they don't answer because they don't know. But the city council, really, it's, and I see the same phenomena on the school board. if we don't replace the council members and the school board members, we're going to just have a continued rubber stamp. Why do you think they put that kind of money into their campaigns?
Oh, listen, look at what they put into proposal land. And you know what's going to happen this year with this charter? It's going to be proposal land on steroids to get people to vote no on the charter. I'm telling you. And that's why we should be upfront right now, holding their feet to the fire, city council and the mayor's office, telling them we want to report every 30 days of how this money is going to be spent. I'm telling you right now, Detroit, it needs to be done now. And any of you who have any organizations who are in need, how you're supporting people, you need to be putting your bid in right now to get some of that money. Because you best believe it's going to go to some of these nonprofits who are led by people who are not even from here. That's what's going to happen. Because that's typically what does happen. And they've been getting away with it. They've been getting away with it. And then who's going to be the representative? Who's going to be the advocate for your community, Elena, to make sure that some of those dollars come in? And if we do restore home repair funds, who's going to make sure that some people in your community get it?
And that our people also get the contracts to do it, right?
Yeah.
Because, and the other thing is the libraries have got to reopen, and I really am concerned that they're going to just, you know how when you close something for long enough, people get used to it.
Yeah, they do. They normalize it. They become very conditioned to believe like, oh, okay, well, you know, it's something that we can live without. But it's not something that you should have to live without, right?
Yeah, we got used to having no real grocery stores. We got used to not having anything. And I'm really concerned that there's going to be children, the age of children, they grow so fast. And if they've never had, like we had children that literally grew up under emergency management in Detroit public schools. They expected nothing and got nothing. They had nothing to compare it to.
That's valid. And we don't have that conversation, right? About how that emerges growing up in the schools during emergency management, the outcomes of that, how it really impacted those students.
The number of students that are going to be able to go to college and actually really have, they're on such unequal footing to people who had like teachers every day, labs. I'm telling you, I have so many experiences of students that never had labs in school. So if you had chemistry and biology and you didn't have a lab, you didn't have the same education as a suburban student that didn't lose all that.
Right.
All the music and art that was taken out, except to give it to the lucky few that got Skillman grants. It's been made so unequal. And this is the thing that I have to really continuously raise, and I ask people to think about. We're really kind of conditioned to be appreciative of philanthropy, and it's philanthropy that looted us. It's philanthropy. Why do you have all that money to give? Why couldn't everybody just have it instead of making it a few? And that's what philanthropy has done.
I don't think people really understand, especially here, that they're giving you back money that they took from you. That's the whole thing. Like they have benefited in such a great way. They're giving you back money that they have already taken from you. It's not out of the kindness of their heart.
But they also don't have to give it to you. So you better behave.
Yeah, that part, right? That's the narrative. Well, they could have given it to someone else. Well, guess what? They could have not taken our money. How about that?
Yeah, and there's so many.
They could have not taken all of these tax subsidies. They could have not taken these millage money, you know, that they've been able to receive. There are a lot of things that they didn't have to do as well. Let's take a quick break, Elena, and when we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
Okay.
All right. We'll be right back on the Nicole Small Show.
All right.
Tune in to the Nicole Small Show, Mondays and Tuesdays from 8 to 10 a.m., where you'll get straight talk with no chaser. If you miss a show, then you won't know. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook.
Protect the vote, Detroit. with Beverly Kendall Walker for Detroit City Clerk. Be the change you want to see in the world. So protect the vote August 3rd, 2021. Call or text Beverly Kendall Walker for more information at 313-618-9749. That's 313-618-9749. You voted, now what? You Voted Now What LLC is a social impact marketing firm for the business person looking for bold strategies to unleash the buying power of our community. That's social impact marketing. Find more info at info@youvotednowwhat.com. Mention the Nicole Small Show for a 15% discount. That's right. Email info@youvotednowwhat.com for more information. And remember, get your souls to the polls August 3rd, 2021 for the Detroit mayoral election.
Welcome back to the Nicole Small Show. We have our guest Elena Arata on the call, on the show today, and we're talking about this $895 million, $895.59 million that's scheduled to come into the city for stimulus money. One of the things that was mentioned in an article that I had read, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, Elena, about this stimulus money coming to the city is that in 2020, the city of Detroit lost $71 million in income taxes. And they're concerned that if people continue to work remotely, that they will continue to experience a significant loss in income taxes. Let's talk about that. While I'm somebody who I wear my mask, I believe in being cautious, especially when I'm closer than 6 feet to other people and going inside of any establishment. I say all of that to say that I do believe that I believe that the pandemic killed people. Some people don't believe it. I believe that it's a real virus. So I want to put all of that out on the record. But still, we see people working in Congress. They go to work. We see people who are going to work in other capacities. When are they going to open the city back up? Because I think that what's happening is, as Steve Hood said before, it's death by Zoom, and it's death by Zoom of the people of Detroit. What city council is doing with these meetings, giving us 1 minute. Some people can't really navigate through it. And I think that they are definitely benefiting off of it. When are we going to go back to being able to address our leadership in person? That needs to happen. And also, I think that there is some city business that should be able to be conducted in person. And they can schedule people to come in, whatever they need to do. But this is getting out of hand. And I don't understand, what is the plan to reopen up, the city administration?
This is what we refer to as back Zoom meetings. But also, what we need to do, I believe, is if we are continuously shut out of physical spaces, we have to return to going to their houses. We can return to go to their houses.
Mhm.
So if you don't want to address the public that voted for you, we can go to your house. And I know a lot of them don't live where they say they live, but we can go to the place where they say they live.
Oh,
And we have to show up at
including the
those
mayor.
places.
Including the mayor. He doesn't live at the Manugian Mansion, so go figure.
I know we gotta have to charter a bus to Wixom. But if we did show up in public spaces and continuously put it on our own social media feeds,
Mhm.
it would be a lot more lively and creative. The thing
Mhm.
is, what technology has done is to deaden an already difficult process to create what I call municipal militants.
Mm.
If we don't have people that understand tax captures and tax abatements versus what we pay in taxes, then we're going to have all this complicity continuing. But the more we can be out in the world, engaging and teaching, whether it's with graphics, pie charts, signs, and really make it more lively, I think that's
Mhm.
what has to be done. And it'll be better than when we were at city council waiting to get arrested by police for talking.
Yeah, because they had a lot of time to come and arrest people at our meetings, didn't they, Elena?
In
Let's,
our small groups, we would always
yeah.
be under attack. But I think it would be much better to bring it out into the streets and rotate which council members we go to. Then we could be in every district. We could
Okay.
have whatever leaflets or everything else. We need to bring it back to actually being alive, take it off of all technology. The technology will be showing it live on our feeds, but actually handing something to hand out to neighbors and getting people really more aware of that city council member lives on this street and they did this. Or that
Okay.
city council allegedly lives on that street. And, I think we really do need to get outside. We need to get outside and go to their houses. And I think
Well,
it
the
would
weather
really
is breaking, so you might get more people to definitely support that. Let's take a caller. Good morning. Welcome to the Nicole Small Show.
Good morning, Nicole. How you doing today?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
All right, and good morning to your guest that's on the show too. You guys got a good show going. Very educational for the people that need to hear it. A lot of things. I put little comments on that because the people know that this man gets this money. He's going to do the same thing he did with the other money that he took from us and directed into another direction. And we will not get the money that we're supposed to get that comes to the community and to the people that's needed for water shutoffs and all this other the schools and everything else. If people, I don't understand the people. It's like the snake story. The herd snake. The man took him home and nursed him back, and the snake bit him, and the snake told him, "You knew I was a snake." You know what I'm saying? When you pick me up, that's the same with this man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a snake, and he's gonna continue to do the same thing. And he putting stuff out there. He waits till every time it's voting time to say all the stuff that he's gonna do, and these people fall for it every time. A lot of these people think he's gonna do that. And it's sad that we think like that, but I'm not going to hold it long. I'm going to let you get back to the show.
Well, I want to mention one thing. I want to mention one thing to you, Kenny. Elena mentioned that they need to restore funding to the home repairs program. And,
right.
You live in an area where, Chrysler was given all of these tax subsidies. A slum landlord had $1.8 million forgiven in property taxes, and another 800 blight tickets was forgiven as a part of that deal. And those people in your community only received $15,000 in home repairs over there. It's that type of misappropriation of funding. The tables are definitely not balanced for the majority of people in our community. And this is why we don't trust this $895 million coming in here, that the people of Detroit are going to receive their fair share. This is exactly why. It just adds to the list.
And you know what, Nicole?
Mm-hmm.
These folks, I done went up and down the street. They dissatisfied with the contractors they done sent over here. They doing bone work bogus work. I'm still waiting on work to get done in my house. They sent one contract. I fired him because he overtaxed me $700 for a generator. $700. He overtaxed. I called the manager of this program, and he got me fired back. Now, something is wrong with this. We told them that last year or before the pandemic that they were sending these contractors over here, and they running out our little $15,000 stuff, overtaxing us with stuff. And now here they go again. I just talked to an owner, and he's dissatisfied, and they just treat us like take this money and let these contractors do what they want, and I refuse. I fire them. So there's a lot going on over here that's not being said. They couldn't have a meeting about a pollution thing. I believe it's today or tomorrow about some pollution program where they crash it. And I say it ain't nothing but some smoke they blowing up our rear end again because they closed up the streets over here and threw us some peanuts and think we're supposed to be happy. So
that's right.
And I'm gonna continue to listen. And if anybody needs to call in or need to ask me a question, they can. I have no problem with answering because one thing about it, they're gonna make me run for something. I might not know a lot of things about this politician stuff in this.
Look, you know more than the ones that we got elected because they don't seem to know they head from their tail. They just know how to rubber stamp something for the mayor.
That's what I was gonna say. One thing I do know that I can't be bought and I ain't gonna sell my people out. I do know them two things right there.
Well, so, listen, that's 80% of the problem. So thank you, Kenny. That's 80% of the problem.
And I appreciate you, and you know I'm for you, 100%. And you ain't got to be there for me to speak up for you.
Thank you.
Speak up for you when you ain't there. And
thank
that's
you.
How it should be if you're for a person. So thank you, Nicole, and continue to do what you do, and I'm there for you.
Thank you. So, Elena, I know over Marathon, when they were giving out money, the people in your community did receive a larger amount of funding for home repairs when the whole Marathon deal was going through, when they wanted to get tax subsidies and come in here and do some more development. But at the same time, you take a look at that deal right there. I think today we were supposed to get some jobs out of there, and maybe only 2 Detroiters ended up getting hired. And it was another piece that I'm missing. Oh, I can't remember. I didn't expect to talk about this because I would have done my research. But I say all of this to say, look at how this city's administration continues to approve funding that should be going directly to Detroiters and into the neighborhoods. And they keep rewarding all of these bad actors and these large corporations and these contractors who are friends and family of the mayor, right? Don't get me wrong. And then you leave the people with crumbs. You leave the people with crumbs. I absolutely agree with you. The first thing that they should consider is restoring more funds into the home repair program. People desperately need it. They desperately need that funding. But they also need to make sure that instead of getting all of these contractors from way up north or wherever they're getting them from, that they take a look at getting some more responsible contractors that we have here locally. And that's another thing that they don't take a look at. So we allow people to come in and they get this grant money that we have to be able to do the work, Elena, and then they do shabby work. And so then now the people are left with something that maybe is a temporary fix instead of a long-term fix. That's another issue. Who's going to do the checks and balances when we start issuing out money again out of this $895 million for that?
But another thing, and I know it's a whole separate longer discussion, but they have never integrated the skilled trades. So now you see, I live down the street from the train station, and there's so much construction going on every day. You go downtown, and I'm telling you, it looks like a 1950 ad for construction workers and everything else. Almost everybody's white. And
yeah.
The skilled trades have never integrated. So why then they'll say they can't hire Detroiters because they're not journeymen, they're not qualified, and there's so few that are able to get in. And also the people who do have the credentials face such brutal racism that they can hardly get hired or get hired and can barely survive the environment that they're working in. And there's so much documentation of this.
Mm-hmm.
So that the jobs that are coming here, and with the taxing also with Gilbert and Illich and Ford and all of the developers being their own taxing authority, the taxes are not coming to Detroit. The work isn't coming to Detroiters. And then we get priced out of our homes because the taxes are going up so high when their developments are done. So that it's a vicious circle that if we don't address it in that structural level and it's legislative, it doesn't really affect the other cities as much, but they all voted on it. It's a statewide kind of, the Gilbert laws, they call it, are statewide. But it doesn't, you don't see this happening in the other cities. What is going to happen, and I want to just sort of put this in people's minds, all the companies that are moving downtown, there's a finite number of workers at Ford, a finite number of workers in Troy, in Oakland County. And if they're all coming downtown because they're getting these big abatements and big deals from being able to get cheaper rent with high-speed internet,
yes,
there's going to be ghost towns in Oakland County, ghost towns in Dearborn, where there's so many people that are moving away from those places, and those buildings are going to just be left empty. That's going to finally sort of create some sort of awareness of what it means to give away everything to these corporations, and then the people who live in those counties aren't going to have that tax base anymore. So
well, I also think that we're going to be facing bankruptcy again, because we sure are giving away a lot more than we're getting in return from a lot of these tax abatements. And then, you know, people don't realize that there are so many small businesses that were actually recruited by the city to come into the city and open up business, and they were afforded, you know, a lot of amenities to be able to operate. Meanwhile, the small businesses that have been existing were just pushed out, or they continue to struggle. And so I think all of that at some point is going to come to an head. And when that happens, then Doug gonna go on about his merry way like he has done in every other situation, whether it's with the county, tore that apart, then he left, went to DMC, then when that he left that in shambles, and he'll do the same thing with the city. And that's what I don't understand about our people, where people have shown you who they are and it's a pattern of behavior, you need to believe them. So thank you so much, Elena, for coming on the show today. I appreciate you. We will have to have you back soon to continue this conversation about what's going on in the city of Detroit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
All right, up next, we are going to bring on a phenomenal sister that does some great work in the community, Sister Elder Leslie. She will be joining us, and she's working with Michigan United. But we're going to talk about a couple of things today. Good morning. How are you?
I am great. I'm sorry, the mic kind of blurred out. I'm great.
Okay.
How you doing this morning?
Doing well. I am doing well. I am so happy to have you on this show today. I appreciate you joining us.
I love you. 9 o'clock in the morning. I love you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So let's talk about some of the work that you're doing right now. I know this is what I know. I know that you led a huge effort last year in organizing around the education for the 2020 presidential election. I want to talk a little bit about that, about your experiences too in doing that work. But tell us a little bit about what you're doing in Michigan United.
Well, right now, Michigan United, I am the director of criminal justice reform as well as the director of faith and justice. Right now, we are in, I'm not going to say a holding pattern, but we're building, and we're building toward next year, because we know next year we're going to have an election. So it's going to be real important that we have something that we can put before the people that could actually help to drive people to the polls. So that's kind of a little bit of a secret, but we're talking a little bit about that.
All right, that's great. So what I talked about earlier on the show is that right now we have the Republicans who are pushing 253 bills to suppress voter rights. And I think that this is a part, it could potentially affect the work that you do with returning citizens. As we all know, that is one group will definitely be impacted by voter suppression while this is happening in another 43 states. In your opinion, do you think that there needs to be more of a robust effort and planning and educating, let me say that, around what could potentially happen here in the state of Michigan?
We're breaking up just
especially
a little bit,
with
Nicole.
returning citizenship. Should we be having that conversation now so people are better prepared, so we could be proactive instead of reactive? That's what I'm asking.
Well, I think that's why we're doing the base building work that we're doing right now, right? Because we see this as something that is possible, something that could actually happen. I don't know that we have as much opposition as people think with the Republican Party as it concerns criminal justice reform. And that's just to be honest. They've actually been not a really bad ally on getting some of this work done. Even with the First Step Act, it took a bipartisan effort, but it was a lot of Republicans that were interested, right, in making this happen. So if we're really talking about voter suppression, I don't know if I look at it as much as being party, as much as it being us. A person cannot hold you down with their foot if you step up, if you stand up. And so when I think about voter suppression, the way that this is happening is in the current districting, that we have. So we have an opportunity. There's a window of opportunity right now with this redistricting that we need to be doing. And we need to get all of our people in all of the different cities together and to make sure that they are at those redistricting planning meetings. That's what's going to be important, how they actually draw the maps. That will determine whether they will be able to engage in active and aggressive voter suppression.
Okay. Do you?
Here we are.
But do you believe that what is happening right now? We have you doing your work as the director for criminal justice reform. You're helping returning citizens and to educate them. I guess where I call into question is that we only have so many elder Leslies in our community. Okay,
that's true.
And this is an issue that touches so many of our brothers and sisters across the state and across this country. But let's just deal with our reality in the state of Michigan. And I am gravely concerned that because we don't have enough of the Nick Buckinghams and Daryl Woods and other people who do this work, and Aaliyah Harvey Quinn, who are doing this work to help educate our returning citizens around, the importance of them exercising their power to vote, right? And their right to vote. I don't want this to become an issue that we are reactive to. And because I don't see enough of you, you're only one person, right? Each one of you, enough of this work and this education being done. I do believe it should be done at a party level. I think that there should be some type of support for the work that you're doing and the educating to those specific groups that we know will be significantly impacted if this was to happen here in the state of Michigan. And why can't we be more proactive around these types of issues? I agree with you. Next year is midterms. That is going to be critically important, right? And this whole redistricting, and I talked about it earlier today. I talked about it last week. I was on the call and I did make a public comment. The way that it looks now, we got the short end of the stick for public hearings, right? And we need to make sure that, again, we value ourselves and that we're advocating about our worth. And our worth is that we have the highest population density of populated voters right down here. So we should have more public hearings in our communities. So when we set that to the side, right, that's a part of it. When we set that to the side, then what also happens is, well, they're tolerant of this type of behavior. They'll tolerate us dismissing them. They'll tolerate us not giving them their just due. You know, that's how I think that they interpret it. So I agree with you about getting involved with the redistricting, but I also think that there needs to be more of a concerted effort, is what I keep saying, from the party overall around this issue. And they should be touching these groups of people that you're working with.
And I agree wholeheartedly, because to be honest with you, we are on the ground under Ken Whitaker, who is our new incoming
Executive director.
Woo, woo, right?
Yes, that was a great move.
Progress. It's progress. It's happening. And that's one of his major concerns. And that's like why I actually mentioned the redistricting, because we didn't have people showing up. So there are groups that have been coming together to right? And we are a part of that group. So I'm going to advocate, that if you see someone saying, hey, we need you at these meetings, I think it's like August, September, that is going to be a lot of heavy lifting that's going to be done. And we need to pack those places to get it done. But I agree with you in terms of the allegiance that we have to the Democratic Party. They need to step up. They absolutely need to play a bigger part. They need to stop being so transactional in the community and vote for them. Okay, and let's get a relationship. Let's start doing some co-governing. One of the things I thought about, Nicole, when after you called me yesterday, I thought about, it was a sister, and I don't know what city she ran for, but she ran for an elected office. Good morning. She ran for an elected office, and it was in a major city, but she ran as a Republican. Her commercial was phenomenal.
Baltimore. She was in a red dress. That was Baltimore. Yes.
She was phenomenal, because that was the narrative right there. We have been loyal to you. We've been to ride and die with you, and still look at our conditions and look at how we are living. Until we all come together, we're going to continue to get the same thing. This, what they say, this is insanity. What we are living in is insanity. We are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We talk about the first 100 days. Please explain to me, off of the Black agenda that was given by our current president, what have you done off of that agenda? Explain that to me. So I think where we are right now, and I hope this is not off topic, but I think where we are right now, we are in a place where we need to get in a place. We have to stop putting food on other people's plates and start putting food on our plates. We need to begin to organize what we want to see. Now, I'm not saying don't work with other people. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is exactly this. We need to be clear about what our agenda is. What is it going to take to straighten out the city of Detroit and other cities that are impacted, right? Let me just put it like this: where you find Black folk.
That's right.
And a lot of them.
That's right.
It's
like we're hungry and we continue to want to feed somebody else instead of taking care of ourselves. When are we going to put ourselves as a priority? And then what happens is, when we're not on that list of those to receive, to benefit, then we want to say something about it. But you never prioritize yourself. You never valued your own self-worth. You too busy valuing others. We pacify a lot of the poor treatment that we receive. We have become conditioned, unfortunately, to think that, well, you know what, that's just the way it is. It will always be that way. You will always be treated that way. Again, if you don't stand up and show them that, you know what, this is where I draw the line. We need to manage our expectations, but the best way to do that is to establish some real standards and some boundaries around here. Yeah. And that's where
and that's where the going away part is. That's where the part is where every organizer, every activist get in the room together. And I mean Black right now, okay? I love my allies.
So we have some stuff to clean up.
Exactly. And that needs to be cleaned up amongst us, period. Okay, this is going to be strong tea this morning, period. And thank you for the opportunity, because I've been talking about this. We need to get in the room, just like brothers and sisters had that fight. And then mama, daddies, we need to get it together. We need to pull it all together and say, this is what's going to make our community whole. This is what's going to make our community healthy. This is what's going to make our community vibrant. This will cause our children to 1,000 generations to thrive. And when we get that down on an agenda, on paper, then we go back to the organizations in which we live, breathe, and work in. And if they're not doing that work, maybe that's not the organization for you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? If they are doing that work, then you make sure those things that are on that agenda in which we all agreed to, that you are working or building toward those things. This is the problem. Our vote is our currency. Have you ever went to the store and gave the clerk $100 or $1,000 and walked away empty-handed? Have you ever done that?
No.
Our vote, Brother Shar said, our vote is our currency. How many times have we taken vote and given our vote away for nothing?
Well, if we don't do something about this current administration, the presidential administration, it's going to be a repeat. You just talked about this first 100 days. Listen, yes, the President Biden needed to address the stimulus issue, right? Because people need money. I agree with that. But there were a litany of things that we had on the table in order to bridge the gap when it comes to racial injustices, with policing, with the criminal justice system, with sentencing, right? With real opportunities for returning citizens. Also, when you talk about having access to economic dollars, hey, small business loans or whatever, we all know the small black businesses businesses owned by Black people always get the short end of the stick. You know what I mean? And where are the resources that are going to help them to become more thriving and competitive businesses? The tables are not balanced, is what we are saying. And if we don't do something real soon to say, we did not forget what you said, and we did not forget what we said that we demanded, if we don't do that soon, then you know what? It's going to be business as usual. We get too comfortable.
See, this is where your mayor comes in. This is where your governor comes in. This is where the president of the city council, people that have influence in Washington, this is where they come in. Rashida Tlaib, Brenda Lawrence. This is where all of those people come in. They need to say, and this is like, once again, a Black agenda. Listen, we have 20,000 small businesses ready to go to work, ready to build in community. We need from this administration a guarantee that every bill that passes, the COVID bill, the infrastructure bill, that there is a place in there that helps to guarantee that these people will at least have the opportunity to receive some of these monies. I think that we're kind of looking at it all wrong. We got to hold these elected officials accountable.
Yes.
They are the ones that go to Washington on our behalf.
Yes.
We don't go. They go on our behalf. So they're the one who needs to take that message. Now, what message are they taking? Are they taking the people's message? or are they taking their
own
vision?
personal message. That's right.
Exactly. And so
And
that's
that's the
where
problem
voting
that
is
we have
important.
now, is that when the deals are really made, especially here locally, we know that there are a lot of conversations behind closed doors, because by the time they make it to the city council table, you hear very little conversation. You know what I mean? And the conversation that you do hear does not delve deep into the details of whatever agreement or proposal they're about to vote on. And so what we need is that when you having these backdoor conversations, I don't care if it's behind closed doors or at front at the table, if you're not putting the people's interest first, then you need to go. See, that's what we need to understand. Stop doing all of this, allowing all of this pandering to take place. Stop allowing for people to keep selling you a bag of broken glass when they told you they were going to give you a bag of diamonds. Stop it. When these people have shown you that they will not stand up for your best interest, what is happening right now to our community and to the people living in poverty, the opportunities improvement of their quality of life are becoming less and less. And it's not because of a pandemic, okay? It's not because we have limited resources. It's because we do not have people at the table with the best interest of the people is ever put first. That's the reason. This is the reason why we had $9 million spent in bike lanes instead of investing into real community development. This is the reason why we had $100 million come here for CARES Act money, and I can't tell you one person who received any benefits from that CARES Act money from the city of Detroit. You understand me? This is the reason why 70% of Detroiters were manipulated into supporting a proposal and some of us tried to tell them, listen, that is the poisonous fruit. It is not going to benefit you in the manner that you think. It is not going to redevelop and beautify and increase safety in your neighborhood. And so now already we have contractors, when we were promised this is the only way that we can get Black contractors, which I've never heard of any dollars earmarked to say you can't give it to Black contractors, but that's what they told us. And so now we have Black contractors that are still excluded, and we have Detroit-based businesses. So they consolidate the contractors in order, now that they've been exposed that these people are Detroit-based businesses, then now they're going to consolidate them to make them a Detroit-based business. I'm saying, listen, this is the reason why $17 million already is missing. It's missing out of the proposal end. And the reason why I want to talk about that is because we have returning citizens who can do some of this work. Mm-hmm. People have to understand how all of this goes together. You know, and nobody, well, not nobody, but we don't have a super majority of our elected officials who are having these conversations at the table, because you know what, you draw the line. You know what you do? You let multimillionaires and billionaires like Dan Gilbert. You let some of these independent contractors like RDC and all of these other ones who received the demolition contracts know, okay, we'll give you an opportunity to get some of this money. What are you going to do for my people? I have a certain number of people who are unemployed, some who have are returning citizens, and some who are not. You tell me exactly how you're going to hire them. That needs to be discussed in the beginning, but we don't do that.
But you know what? Now, Pastor Barry and the master's plan. Yes. Pastor Barry actually did that with the master's plan, right? And I know that they have a community agreement over there. So that gives them a little bit more power. That still comes back to us being accountable and responsible for what happens in our neighborhood. The only way that I feel that we can turn this ship around is that we're going to have to create a voting block. We're going to have a slate. We're going to have people that have the same values, the same morals, the same ideas, that say we are willing to work together in a city council. We don't need 9 individual voices with 9 individual visions, because if that happens, nothing gets done. Now, absolutely. If the person that's above them, the mayor, one vision, he can step in there, or she can step in there and say, hey, I have this vision. The rest of them say, well, I have this and I have this. But he has this one vision that collectively they can all come together on. So until we create a Black agenda, with a voting block, and with the voting block, I don't think that we're going to be able to turn this situation around. I actually hope it's not too late to turn this situation around, because I'm sitting up here, I'm concerned about gentrification. Okay. In
Very
my
much
neighborhood,
so.
on my block, I probably have about 6 white families on my block now. I don't care about white families being on my block. What I care about is Mama Susie and my neighbors that have been here for 40, 50 years, right? And will they be able to stay once these people decide they don't want to live in this neighborhood anymore and want to sell that house? What
So
happens to the property value?
Can we explain that to the listeners? Because I don't think that they understand it. And it's so funny that you use the number 6. I just last week, I saw 6 new white people walking up and down the street on my block, like right past my house. I could see them out the thing. And I said, now that's a large number for me to just see 6 new ones that I have never seen before, walking up and down the block. Two and they walk in pairs, okay, and 2 sets of them had a dog, and so I knew it wasn't the same ones. And then you had another older couple that I saw, and I said, now why would they move into a city, into a neighborhood with housing? Because most of our houses are colonial, number one, and usually at that age, people not trying to go buy another house that's a colonial. So I'm just putting all of this together. And I say that to say this. When we talk about white people moving into our neighborhood and gentrifying it, it's not just because you white. It's because we know that you're going to make our property value and our taxes go up. So what the end result is because the majority of Detroiters are making less than $25,000 a year. We know that could potentially result in displacing and foreclosing on the people who have been there. So I want them to understand what we mean by that. And then they take out these huge loans on these houses, which drive up the market value, and it drives up the property taxes in our community, which also results in displacing our people. That's what we mean by it.
Yeah. And so and I'll give you an example. So there was a couple that moved across the street from me. Very lovely couple.
Mm-hmm.
Have done wonderful things with the property. Now, they didn't pay as much, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're nervous. They're white and they're nervous, right?
Yeah.
Because 6 houses down from them, 7 houses down from them on the same side, same block,
mm-hmm.
someone just came in and they put $150,000 into that house,
mm-hmm.
right? And so the white couple, they, and I hate to refer to them as white couple, but the people across the street said, I'm nervous. Now, I thought I was nervous. They said, I'm nervous. They said, I'm nervous because did you see what they just did?
Mm-hmm.
We moved into this neighborhood because it was nice. It is. We moved into this neighborhood because we could afford it. They could. But with what they're seeing, that's going to also displace them. So we're not, with the gentrification, we're also talking about class.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not just talking about moving poor Black people out. We're also talking about moving middle class white people out with this type of a situation. So we're talking about class here too as well. So there has not been, to my knowledge, and maybe you know more than me on this, not one city council member that has brought forth a plan. Now, I did not watch the mayor's address because I didn't care to hear it. Okay. You've lied for 8 years and I just didn't care to hear it. I'm just not going to continue
on this year. He was lying on this year.
Okay. But I heard someone said that he did say something about trying to curb or stem the gentrification. I heard that. I don't know if that's true, but if the city is going to be a solid city, then we need to make sure that there are plans in place that we can keep the people in here
To preserve, listen, to preserve, this is a part of preserving the culture and the fabric of our city, right? We are still, I don't care who didn't participate in the census, and even with the new people moving into the city who are not Black, everywhere I go, we the super majority, right? And with that said, this is about, and there's nothing wrong with us wanting to preserve the culture and the fabric that we're woven into it. We created it. It's because of our ancestors, their sacrifices, what they have invested and poured into this city. When some of these people moving in, I always say they wouldn't even have thrown a rock at this across 8 Mile or across the boundaries to come here. And they could come here if they want to. What I'm saying is just don't make it a place that's not livable and accessible for those who have been here. That's my thing. And you know what? You have some white people. They have told me if I was going to move here, I could have stayed in the suburb for the way that this city, the direction that this city is going in, because we are being stripped of the culture and the fabric of the city. We really and truly are with gentrification. And with the leader who does not respect or value the principles and the roots that the city was built on.
So let me give you another example. So there was another couple that stayed across the street, white couple, and we have somebody in our neighborhood, you know, that we love, and he's been the same. Actually, he got shot in the head. So there's some things that goes on there, but we've known him for 40 years. So here, you know, this is right after George Floyd. My son comes in the house, Mama, they messing with Steve. I said, who's messing with Steve? He said, the police. And I got to tell you this. And so I'm like, the police? So I jumped off the phone and I walked outside and I looked across the street and I said, what's going on over here? So here come RoboCop, about 6'4", white, you know, all up. And he says, well, he was causing this disturbance. I said, who, him? I said, well, who said that? He said, well, the people. I said, oh, no. I said, he didn't. I said, he's just being himself. He's been this way since I've known him over, 40 years. And the police officer said, really? I said, yes. I said, he's not going to hurt anybody. So I said, let's go over there and talk to these people. Now, mind you, they got him in handcuffs. He's in the car. I'm looking at my 20-something-year-old son with tears in his eyes behind George Floyd. I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to talk about this. And I go to the neighbor. I don't know them. So we introduce ourselves. I said, what's the problem? Well, I say, he who? Well, Steve. Oh, him. What? Well, he was acting like this. I said, have you seen him act any other way? He said, he was bothering the lady over here. I'm like, is that your business? I said, did the lady call the police? I said, who would call the police on this man? The police know him. I don't even know why they got him in the car. So we had to have this conversation. Needless to say, I intervened. I said, so I talked to him. And he said, well, I guess maybe we overreacted. I said, I think you did. I said, and I'm going to tell you another way that you overreacted. I said, that Colt 45 that you got hanging on the front of your house. I said, brother, you Dexter and Davidson. Hold on. Look, don't do the Oprah. Don't go. Don't do the Oprah.
Right.
I said, hold on. I said, you going to get yourself killed. I said, if somebody come in here to do something to you, they're not going to give you a chance because they already know what you think. I said, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. No, wait. The dumbest thing I've ever seen. So the police officer co-signed and said, you don't know where you are. You need to take that down because that's offensive to people. And in the same breath, driving home, there were tanks, Nicole. There were tanks on Waverly and Dexter coming to get a young man who was wrong, who actually killed somebody, not with a gun, not with a knife, but with his fist, killed somebody. There were tanks. There were police officers in riot gear, all for this one little man. It was about 40 police officers. That was offensive to me. That's not the city that I came up in. And that's one of the things that I think it needs to be changed. And the only way we change that is a change of the mindset of the police chief, which I don't think that's going to happen. So we need a new police chief. And in order to get a new police chief, we're going to need a new mayor, because I don't think the mayor sees the way that we see around policing reform.
Well, I think, you know, and other people have stated this too, that we need a new police chief. But I always tell them, even if we replace that one, you're going to get the same thing. This is stemming from the directive of the CEO of this city, which is the mayor. When you have a mayor that has a certain mindset, that has a certain depiction of Black people and Black Detroiters, which is, you know what, if I can't benefit from them, then they're useless. When he still doesn't even live in this city. You know what? He doesn't want to be amongst us unless he absolutely has to. And so that really is the root cause of the problem for what you see from the issues that we have with policing. So I would support that until you change the mayor, you are not going to change policing in the city of Detroit, because it is his principles, it is his vision. It is his directive that is leading how our entire police department operates. But something needs to be done.
Let me ask you one simple question. What was his job? What was his job prior to him managing the hospital?
Wayne County. Wayne County executive with Wayne County.
He was the prosecutor.
Prosecutor. I said executive prosecutor. Yes.
Wayne County prosecutor. How would a prosecutor think other than punitive?
Absolutely. And this is the same prosecutor who supported the police officers, Button and Nevers, in the slaying of Malice Green. I mean, this is what, he's not new. It's not like we don't have any factual information about his pattern of behavior and the history on his mayor. We do. But there is something fundamentally wrong with a lot of these Detroiters, especially Black Detroiters, who support him. It is. No other community would do this. And then for you to lead a hospital where they were using dirty surgical utensils on operating on people. You know, the majority of people who come through there are Black too. I mean, what else do you need to know? There is something wrong with us, that we don't value ourselves enough, and we think that we need others to validate us. You know, and this is why, you know, I got some pushback from a few older Black women, no Black men, just older Black women, about saying that he should not be named a saint of Black bottom. What's wrong with you? How little do you think of yourself and of the legacy of a predominantly Black community, that you think that he should be able to come in here and be baked into our history? Psychologically, something is wrong. And we're talking about women who are probably definitely in their 70s or 80s. This is what you think is acceptable? That is problematic. So we have an issue from generation to generation, and this is why we are in a situation we're in.
I agree. I think that there's some cognitive dissonance going on there. There's some mental illness going on there. You know, people. There's a quote in the Bible: "Consider the cost." We have to really begin to understand what this is costing us.
Yeah.
What is this costing us? And it's not just about us, right? It's about future generations. What will it cost future generations? And I think that's where they've disconnected from. The only thing they want is safe streets. The only thing I can say to them: have you got them?
Thank you.
I don't feel any safer than I felt. Matter of fact, I would say 12 years ago, even 20 years ago, I felt safer.
Yeah.
I don't feel as safe as I once did. I was a victim of crime in my own home. And people, the whole neighborhood felt violated, you know, behind, you know what I'm saying, what happened, you know, freeway shootings. I don't feel safer.
Me either.
I really don't. Illegal dumping. I don't feel safer. And then there's one more thing why I think that we really need to consider who we put in office. I called my block for a month and a half, had trash. We called. Do you know that the city of Detroit had nerve enough to issue me a ticket, and they did not pick up the trash? Now, let me do you one better. Somebody came down the street and said, they're going to give you a ticket for that trash. I wasn't at home because I was convalescent. Do you know? They said, you can cash app me. Take care of that for you. This is a pay to play. The city is not doing anything, to me, in my opinion, to hold these people accountable. And that is one of the main reasons why I'm going to get involved with this election, because we deserve better than this.
That's my whole point. We deserve that. And when it comes to trash, I don't know if people understand. We took away city jobs from a lot of our people and put it in the hands of a privatized company. And Lord knows, if they pick up the trash on time, let alone big bulk, then I'll be surprised. So you can't fool me with this, he came into the city and got the lights on, and then now the trash is being picked up. No, I agree. That is not my experience. That has not been my experience.
I got less light on my block now than I did 12 years ago. I have less light.
Me too. And these new lights that they have, and they done strung up wires going crisscrossing all across the street. And, it's just a mess. It's just a mess. And it doesn't even illuminate as well. So we need to be conscious of how we regurgitate these false narratives that are coming from this administration. Also, they can't find Black folks that want to work because nobody can pass the drug test. I'm so sick of that. But they never shown you one iota of proof that they even interviewed these Detroiters. You have to be interviewed and make it through a certain process in order to get to the drug testing part. We just need to stop repeating such foolishness, because then when it comes from us, then other people really start to believe it. And we need to do our due diligence and stop just giving this administration a pass that what they say is valid and that it's authentic and solid, because we know that it's not. We're doing our own selves a disservice. But listen, we're going to take a really quick break, and then we're going to come back, and then we'll finish up and close out the show. We'll be right back on the Nicole Small Show.
Welcome to the Nicole Small Show, where we give you straight talk with no chaser. Here, we discuss issues from the White House to your house. And now,
you voted, now what? You Voted Now What, LLC is a social impact marketing firm for the business person looking for bold strategies to unleash the buying power of our community. That's social impact marketing. Find more info at info@youvotednowwhat.com. Mention the Nicole Small Show for a 15% discount. That's right. Email info@youvotednowwhat.com for more information. And remember, get your souls to the polls August 3rd, 2021 for the Detroit mayoral election. Protect the vote, Detroit, with Beverly Kendall Walker for Detroit City Clerk. Be the change you want to see in the world. So protect the vote August 3rd, 2021. Call or text Beverly Kendall Walker for more information at 313-618-9749. That's 313-618-9749.
tune in to the Nicole Small Show, Mondays and Tuesdays from 8 to 10 a.m., where you'll get straight talk with no chaser. If you miss a show, then you won't know. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook.
Can you hear me, Elder Leslie?
I can hear you.
Okay, something's going on with the camera because it's just black.
Yeah, I see that. I have about 3 more minutes.
Okay, well, we're gonna finish this up. So tell us right now, how can people get involved and support the efforts that you're doing? What's coming up next with you and Michigan United?
Absolutely. On March the 27th from 10 to 3, we are going to have the 2021 People's Summit, Unity Today, Building Power Tomorrow. So I'd love to invite everybody out. Of course, it is free. And the only thing you have to do is sign up. So Nicole, I don't know how I'm going to be able to put the link in.
Do you see where it says comments or chat?
Yes, yes.
Okay, put it in there.
Okay.
Put the link in there, and you can also send it to me, and I'll on Facebook, and I'll reshare it.
Oh, I think that I must sign up for it.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. So I will send you the link, and I would just appreciate it. We're going to be talking about redistricting and how we build that power to stop the current climate around voter suppression. So there's going to be a big workshop on that. There's going to also be a political training on how did we get here? Like how did we place where they've actually stripped away power away from the people and given that power over to corporations. We're going to have a workshop around women building power to win, getting women to run for elected office. Also, we're going to have a workshop around racial, environmental justice, racism, as well as a workshop that's going to be very interesting. There is like a lot of money coming down the pipe. I'm not quite sure how much, but it's a lot around infrastructure. So how do we as Michiganders begin to organize around that issue to make sure that we know where some of that infrastructure money is going to go in the state of Michigan? That's the same thing that you were talking about the money that the city of Detroit got, in terms of the CARES package, and how we haven't seen anything. I can say we probably seen the free bus rides, because I'm sure that they did that, right? Giving away the free bus rides. But, one of the other things that probably could have happened with some of that CARES money is some of the people that demonstrated a need or said they had a need in the city of Detroit because they weren't working, or maybe they were working. Maybe some of that money could have been taken, redirected to current year's taxes.
Yes.
There were things that could have done that could have made a direct impact into the city, a direct impact. So I think it's important that we talk about that infrastructure money, and once it's passed, like what's going to happen, what cities are going to get this money to fix these streets, right? I think it's also going to be important. We're going to be talking with Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, and we're going to be talking about the response of the COVID-19 vaccination. And right now the Black people, we make up about 14%, probably about 4% have been vaccinated, and that's not of their own choice. So we want to talk about equity, and what that looks like in a medical setting. We have Dr. Ujima Opara. She'll be visiting with us too on that day, and she's going to history medical racism and why racism is a public health crisis, because we absolutely need to talk about that. So there's going to be some awesome workshops, awesome training.
I'm going to join that. I mean, health disparities are real in our community, right? They are real.
Very real. 1 in 3 Black babies die at the hands of a white doctor. People. So it's really real. So we have got to begin to make a collective effort together. Like I said, to begin to organize. But if nothing else, take this away. If you're an activist, if you're an organizer, if you believe in Black life, we need to find a way and a time to come together, because as a community, we have some apologizing, we have some have some healing to do. You cannot go out and fight a war and you jacked up from the floor up.
Say it, because you have to be your strongest and your best
You
when
have to be your
fighting a
strongest
war.
and your best. And Elder has gotten older. Elder has gotten older. And I have so much to give other people because I need y'all to fight on. I'm about ready to retire.
Yeah.
I need y'all to fight on, okay?
I mean, I'm
gonna
your
do
life like it's gold. Now I understand. And you know that's another conversation that I would love to have with you, and maybe bring on another guest as well at a later date to talk about passing the torch, but also what does that healing process and that bridging that generational gap look like? And I think it first looks like respecting each other. I think that there is a wedge when it comes to younger people respecting the path that has been paved by those who came before us, respecting and acknowledging that. But then also sometimes our more seasoned people in our community can be dismissive of younger people's ideas. So how do we get past that to where we can both respect each other and understand how to create a pathway to move together?
Well, I mean, that's absolutely right. That's a part of the healing that we have to do, but people gonna have to bring their true or authentic self, and we can make that happen. We can make that happen. But I do know, but I want to remind you, you can go to Michigan United, miunited.org, and actually michiganunited.org and find the link. But I'm going to send you a little bit later the link to the People's Summit. We also have a free Movement Politics Academy. We will teach you how to run for office, teach you how to raise money. Take advantage. Take advantage of those resources, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge on so many different issues. I appreciate you, and I know that the listeners learned something today. Thank you so much again. You have a wonderful day, and we will be in touch soon. We will definitely bring you back.
Thank you. Have a wonderful one. Bye-bye.
So thank all of you for joining the the Nicole Small Show today. I appreciate you. We will be back next Monday at 8 o'clock right here on YouTube and Facebook Live. Those of you who have not gone to the YouTube page, please go to the Nicole Small Show on YouTube. Make sure that you like and subscribe. We know how Facebook can be sometimes when it will act up. I want you to make sure that you will always have access to the show. Have a great week and be safe. See you next Monday.